Hey everyone, this is Dark Knight from Method Gaming. I hope you guys are safe and healthy. Um, this video is going to be 10 things I hate about Raid Shadow Legends. Now, of course, just like with my other video, 10 things I love about Raid Shadow Legends, hate may be a strong word, but it's kind of like the pros and the cons of the game, and this video is going to be about the cons, at least in my opinion. This is an opinion piece, so, it's just what I think. Obviously, other people might disagree. They may have different opinions. So take it for what it is. It's not. This is not gospel. It's not written into stone. It's just something that I think for myself and the way that I have interacted with the game since I've been playing it. Okay, so let's get into it. The first thing that I find as a negative to the game is the energy cap. Now this is, if you've seen my other video, this is something that I touched upon near the end of the video. The energy cap of 130 energy is, I think, too low because you refresh energy at about 20 energy per hour, which means that in 6.5 hours you're going to be capped out on energy, even if you are at 0 energy when you put the game down. And 6.5 hours, while a lot, may not be enough. For example, if you work, uh, most working hours are at least 8 or 9 hours of the day. So if you work and you just don't have the opportunity to play the game and do a couple of missions here and there during breaks, for one reason or another, you might feel like you're missing out on a bunch of energy every single day, and that's just not a pleasant feeling. Overall, it's not going to be a huge deal if that happens to you, but at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with upping the energy cap. And like I said in the previous video that I posted, basically there are ways to work around the fact that having an energy refresh uh, at the same price but giving you more energy can be a problem maybe for Plarium. But basically they can just increase the cap to, let's say, 200, and just make the energy refreshes give you 150 energy, no matter how much your cap is. So not full energy refresh, but a specific amount. I think that would be a good middle ground between not giving us too much energy per refresh, if that's what they're worried about, of course, and at the same time giving us enough leeway so that we can we can go through most of the day without having to log into the game and do quests or things like that. Okay, the next thing that I find kind of negative is the clan boss system, which needs an overhaul. Basically, the problem is that if you have too many people that hit hard on the higher levels, higher difficulties, which is Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare, Brutal as well, if you have a lot of people doing that, it becomes a problem. If you have a full guild and everybody wants to hit Nightmare, it's just not going to work out. Not everybody's going to get the top chest, which requires at least 39.1 million damage. If everybody in the guild does that, eventually some people will not be able to do it. The clan boss will die, and they won't be able to use their keys for it. Now the good news is that there's actually something that Plarium is doing about it, and basically they're going to introduce unlimited clan boss health. So after you kill the boss, you're still going to be able to use the key, go in and do the damage that you need in order to get the top chest, which I think is an amazing improvement. I think it's coming a bit too late. I mean, it's good that it's coming, don't get me wrong, but this has been a problem since the game began, basically, since people got those amazing teams that they could do Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare with. And the game has been out for more than a year, so I think they could have done this earlier. But having said that, they have been working on quality of life updates, so I think it's definitely a good change, although kind of late to the party, so to speak. The next thing is the offer pop-ups. And it'd be funny if something pops up right now, but I guess it didn't. The offer pop-ups when you log in, or even sometimes when you're in the game, an offer will still pop up. Those can be really annoying, at least for me. I have spent very little on the game. I think a total of 60 bucks or so. So having an offer thrown at my face every single time I log on gets kind of old after a while. So that's definitely something that I do not enjoy in the game. But on the other hand, they can always say, well, we have paying customers which enjoy seeing those offers. They don't need to go to the shop and check the offers by themselves. They just pop up. Okay, I can live with that, but it's not something that I enjoy, to be honest. Alright, next up we've got overpriced packs and predatory tactics that are basically designed to get you to buy stuff. I mean, let me give you an example. Let's see if there's anything up. Okay, so take a look at this. The faction accessories, or for example, let's say artifact sets. Those are also on sale sometimes. And that's $20 for 3 artifacts for Dark Elves, I think this is. A bunch of gems, a bunch of energy, a bunch of silver. I don't think it's worth it. I mean, the thing is, you don't even know what you're going to get on those artifacts. I mean, if they would say, okay, these are all defense artifacts, or this is a defense ring, this is a crit damage amulet, and this is a accuracy banner, and you need those, you know that you can use them, then yeah, maybe. If you could actually see the substats, because for example this is a piece that should have 3 of the substats up already, if you could actually click on it and see the substats, yeah, that would be an improvement, because you would actually be able to make a decision based on what you see here on the extra information, whether you really want to buy those or you just want to stay away. So that would definitely increase the value of such packs if you were actually able to see what you're going to get. But just getting stuff randomly like that, using RNG, 20 bucks, way too much. I wouldn't even spend $1 for that, let alone 20. But that's just me. Now, for the most part, since I started playing, these packs have been super expensive. There's an exception in the beginning. There's an icebreaker offer usually given to you before you even spend any money. You're going to get an icebreaker offer, which is really lucrative. This is basically for you to get you to spend, to break the ice, to sort of get you invested in the game and keep spending. This is a very popular tactic. It's used in most games nowadays, in most microtransaction games. So you can't really blame Plarium for using this, but they do use a lot of predatory tactics when trying to sell their stuff, which can be a bit annoying, to be honest. The raid pass, however, I think is a step in the right direction, because I think it was $25 for 8 weeks, which is basically, give or take, 2 months. And that makes it about $12.50 per month. And you could get some amazing stuff. It was, I think, really good value for your money. Even I, which am actually kind of quite stingy with my money, and I don't like to spend on microtransaction games, even I didn't really think much about it. I actually thought a lot about it, to be honest, but when I thought about it, I realized that it's a good deal, at least for me. I decided that spending 12 bucks for per month, a total of 25, is worth it for the stuff that I was getting from the raid pass. And I'm kind of looking forward to the next one, which like I said, I don't like spending money, so the fact that I'm looking forward to the next raid pass is actually something to, just tells you something about how good the value is. I just hope that they don't overprice it, or just try to bump up the price because the previous one was successful or something like that. Hopefully it's the same price with the same amount of rewards. I think they nailed it really well with the first one. But for example, a good example would be the daily gem pack. I actually have that running. It's I think, maybe I'm mistaken, but I think it's $10 for 2,100 gems over the span of 30 days. I think that's a decent offer. Uh, Not as good as the raid pass, but better than most other offers, in my opinion. All right. The next one, number 5, is there's really no way in the game to skip the grind. What I mean by this is most gacha games will have a sim option. Basically, you'll be able to simulate a fight with just a click or a tap, and you get the rewards instantly. As long as you, for example, 3-star the mission, like in most gacha games, you have those missions where you 3-star them. There's something similar here in the campaign, for example. You see those 3 stars. So basically, if I go here and I want to farm this stage, there's really no option to sim it. I can use multi-battle, but that is also limited, and it's actually not a sim. You still need to load the level, you still need to go through it. That takes time. Even with a speed farmer, it's 8 seconds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you take into account the loading times and the fact that you have to go through this for, let's say, 20-30 battles, instead of just being able to zip through it and just choose the number of battles you want to do and just hit sim, it kind of takes up a lot of time and makes the game, I think, a bit more grindy than it needs to be. On the other hand, in defense of not having a sim option, there's something to be said about the fact that if you had the sim option, all you would need to do is beat, let's say, Dragon's Lair 20. If you could just beat it once and then have the sim option available, there would be no incentive for you to keep improving your team or to keep replacing your champions in the team with better ones to try and lower your completion time. So I think that would, in a way, kind of take away part of the fun where you try to improve your times for different dungeons, but at the same time, it's very time consuming to go through those dungeons. It's very grindy. It's a grindy game, by the way. If you haven't tried it, just keep that in mind. It's going to be a lot of grind. Whether you're farming up a champion, whether you're farming gear, you're always farming something. So, just as a side note. Then the other thing is kind of related. Number 6 is related to number 5. The game is time consuming. Even though it's not very time constraining, meaning that you don't have to be logged on at a specific time to, let's say, do specific missions, kind of like in other games where you have your payouts at a specific time and you need to be logged in before that and do your fights or whatever in order to be able to get the best rewards. There's no such issue here, but the game is still time consuming. Firstly, because of the no sim option. Secondly, because if you want to get all the goodies here, the extra stuff that you get for the playtime that you've spent in the game, the last one is 3 hours, and this arena token refresh is actually a big deal because that's 10 extra tokens which you're gonna want to spend in order to upgrade your Great Hall. So it's kind of a big deal. If it was just silver, for example, this last one, if it was just silver, it would be fine. But I think that these actually need to be reduced to a total of 60 minutes. That might actually even be a lot, but I think for the overall things that you do in the game, the bare minimum of you using your energy, doing your arena battles and so on, doing your clan boss and so on, I think 60 minutes is reasonable. I think everybody spends about maybe 60 or more minutes into the game if they're doing everything that they can do. If they just don't have the time or they're not interested, of course they might not even log on. But for anybody who's trying to do everything that they could, I think 60 minutes is just about right. So it's definitely something that can be a bit annoying, just having to keep the game open so that you can tick down the time to get those last rewards. The good thing is you can leave it up and running on your laptop or PC using the client, but that's not very energy efficient, and nowadays everybody's looking to be energy efficient, or at least most people. So I think that there's steps to be made in that direction. Next thing is number 7, and this is a huge thing. It's the fact that the game is RNG based in almost every aspect. If you haven't played games like this before, and if you don't even know what RNG is, it's a random number generator, basically. It's what these games basically are built on. For example, it plays a part everywhere in calculating your damage, in figuring out what sort of champions you're going to pull from the portal, for example. Let's take a look at the summoning chances. Let's take a look at the sacreds. So from a sacred shards, you have a 94% chance of an epic, 6% chance of a legendary. So it's like whenever you pull a sacred shard, you roll RNG. Is it going to be those 94%, or are you going to get lucky and hit the 6%? You never know. So there's nothing guaranteed in the game. The only thing, actually, you do get some guaranteed champions, for example, from the daily login rewards. You get Dark Aether, no, not Dark Aether, I think, what was it? Undead Aether? Dark Elhain, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Aether, which was one of the other champions, I think the 90-day reward. You get Lordly Legionary, you get a legendary here, Seal of the Drakes, which is, it looks really good. People like her, the ones that already have her. So these are guaranteed, and that's good. But besides that, there's not much else which is guaranteed. This kind of adds to the fun of the game because you kind of have to work with what you have, but it can be also sometimes very annoying to try and get a specific champion or a type of champion. For example, a counter-attack champion. That's usually make or break in this game, because counterattack is very utilized in clan boss. Having a counterattack champion changes the entire dynamic of your clan boss team, as opposed to not having one. So, for example, not being able to pull a counterattack champion, and there are only 3 in the game out of I think 450 or so champions. Not being able to pull one of them can be really annoying over time. And that's not a great feeling. So, and another example was what I was showing you earlier with the offers. This is RNG as well. It's really not showing you what you're going to get. You're going to get something completely random, and that's just not something that I would say is a good investment. So actually, Bionic Gaming, if you watch him, he's a free-to-play content creator. He actually has a very interesting philosophy on how to do things free-to-play in the game. And one of the things that he focuses the most on are fusions. So he tries to be ready for fusions at pretty much any point in time, which is something that I've tried to adopt as well. I missed the Torment and the Rotos fusions. I actually didn't even try them. I didn't think I was going to make it, and maybe I could have, I don't know. But seeing how good these 2 characters are, I'm trying to be ready for the next fusion. I already got that, what was it, Skull Lord. I got him. He's not good, but I got him, and I'm hoping that they will change him up a little bit. I also actually have an idea of where I can use him. I'm thinking about using him as an off tank in my spider team, so there's a reason for me to get him. But other than that, you know, he's not amazing. But that's one thing that you could sort of do in order to kind of lower the RNG part of the game, is you could just try to be ready for such events, such fusions, limited time fusions, and they basically, if you get all the champions, if you get all the requirement, which is also RNG by the way, then you might have a chance of using that champion, and you know exactly what you're getting. It's not like pulling a shard and not knowing what you're going to get. You know exactly what sort of champion you're going for, and you can make a decision before that. Do you want to go for that champion, or do you want to save your resources and wait for the next fusion? So that's one way of thinking about it. But RNG, like I said, it's everywhere in the game, and it's almost never in your favor, so keep that in mind. Next up, I have number 8 on the list, and this is, the game is not very free-to-play friendly unless you approach it with the right mindset. So what I mean by this is there are certain restrictions. If you cash, if you just put cash into the game, you can get a lot out of it in terms of playtime, in terms of progression, and so on and so forth. But if you are free to play, everything is going to be limited. Your resources are going to be limited. Your characters, champions, are going to be limited because you won't be getting as many champions as somebody who's paying, and so on and so forth. But if you are in the right mindset, if you accept this not as a limitation but rather as a challenge, then it's not a bad thing. I've been mostly free to play for pretty much all the mobile games that I've played, and or a very low spender, kind of like here. And I would say that I've always enjoyed finding ways to keep up with the spenders by being completely free to play or almost free to play. So that's something that I have definitely enjoyed doing, and that's how I go over or get through the fact that I'm not as far ahead as all the people that pay. That's fine with me. I mean, there are so many champions in the game. I have good champions as well, so it's not a huge deal. I have a counter attacker, for example. I got lucky with that one. I have an HP burn. I've got several champions which bring defense down, for example, for different content. I've got a decent champions for clan boss, and so on and so forth. So I think for being mostly free to play, I'm in a good place. And I hope that all of you are as well, if you're free to play, and that you can enjoy the game to its full potential. It's really not the full potential unless you're pay to play, but you can still get a lot out of the game, even if you don't have all the shiny champions. So that's something to think about. I think it's a negative, but it can be a positive if you approach it in the right way. That's what I'm saying. Now, number 9 is, not a lot of new content has come out lately. I think the last serious content that dropped was Faction Wars. I believe it was dropped, it still says new feature, but it's been a while, for months. I think it dropped sometime before I started playing. I actually started playing the game when it first came out, but I dropped it because it was taking too much of my time, which is one of the negatives I mentioned. I dropped it, but then decided to pick it up again last year. And I think Faction Wars had just come out, but it was so difficult for people. People were complaining that it's not easy, and I think that's around the time that I started playing as well. So this Faction Wars thing was in the game from the very beginning, but it said coming soon, if I'm not mistaken. And it was months before it came out. There's this tower here that's been locked ever since the game came out, but there's nothing here. This is most likely a placeholder for a progression tower, where you go through different waves of enemies, scaling up and getting more and more difficult as you go, trying to, reach the top, getting different bonuses, different goodies as you progress. Um, that would be something great, by the way, that we could do daily. This is something that is present in other games, such as AFK Arena, such as Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and many other games. You can just basically try to climb as high as possible, get as many rewards as possible. It kind of drives you to keep building your roster and to keep expanding it so that you can get to the top every single day. So definitely looking forward to that, but so far no word on it and no word on new content. But I mean, it is what it is. At least I think Playroom is going in the right direction with a lot of quality of life updates lately. Maybe they're just paving the way for the next big content update. I hope that's the case. But I have to be honest, I'm also happy with the quality of life updates, because it seems that every single update brings something new and exciting in terms of quality of life, improvements on characters, things like that. Not so much on the new content front, but hopefully there's something coming soon. Finally, number 10, the power creep. I feel like ever since I started, or I came back to playing the game, I feel that the power creep has been driven up faster than usual with the introduction of Torment first, and later Rotos and Sifi. Particularly Rotos, but when paired up with Sifi, and even Sifi on her own, can really make it very difficult for you to go through arena easily. So those champions are just nuts. I don't have them, but I've seen them in action. I avoid them for the most part in arena, and that's saying something. I think I have a pretty decent team. It's kind of an old school team, but I think it's pretty decent. However, if I'm avoiding certain champions, even with such a decent team, that means that they really, really are kind of overpowered. Maybe not overpowered. If you have them, then you can definitely go up against somebody who's got them as well. But since I don't have them, maybe that's why I feel that there's kind of a power creep, sort of gaining speed. Not sure how you guys feel about that, but that's at least my view on it. And as a bonus negative, I think I'm going to mention that I believe that the platinum tier rewards that were introduced recently will potentially increase the power gap between players. People who place in platinum consistently and the people who just don't have the time to get to platinum, or just can't make the cut because they don't have the best champions or the best gear and so on and so forth. I feel that this is actually going to make the gap larger between these players. For the most part, I don't think that's a huge deal in terms of actually, PvP content, because people who are not interested in being into Platinum Arena would probably not even care about the rewards that much. It's not a huge deal. However, in the future, if we get more PvP modes, I think that the people who've been in Platinum Arena all this time and getting their rewards, getting those newer item sets and so on, and the better rewards, I think they're going to have a significant advantage over everybody else. So I believe that this would actually be a problem if Plarium decides to introduce new PvP modes. Maybe they'll think about it and maybe they'll handle it in a good way, but I believe that increasing the gap between the top 1% and the rest of the player population is one of the things that can really kill a game, because that way you have 1% of players who are happy and 99% of players who are kind of angry that they can't get the same to the same level as the 1%ers, if that makes sense. And while most games like this are kind of focused on the whales and catering to the whales, it's still healthy to have a decent population of dolphins, small fish, so to speak, people who don't spend that much but still spend, and even free-to-play players, of course. Without them, a game is going to feel dead. You're going to have several thousand players maybe uh, that are ultra whales playing the game and nobody else. There's not going to be a large community of players. There's not going to be, a lot of different guilds at different levels. It's just going to get really stagnant, and this is a problem. I don't think a lot of developers realize this, but they do need to make their games more balanced in terms of a gap between whales and free-to-play, because creating a larger difference is what kind of drives people away from the game. This is one of the main reasons why I stopped playing Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, for example. I was really into that game. I played for more than 2 years, but lately they started making decisions which just created a huge gap between the free-to-play and the whales, and it was not fun anymore. It was like you couldn't even, get to where you wanted to get. I'm not even talking about the top places. I'm talking about just being competitive, and that was just not possible. So definitely something that I think is going to be a problem in the future as well. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So okay guys, those are my 10 or 11 with the bonus feature. 10 things that I hate about the game. Like I said, maybe hate is not the right word, but things I dislike about the game. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with most of what I said? Do you have a different opinion? Maybe you disagree with some of the points. Maybe you have different ideas or different things that you don't like about the game. I'm sure I've missed quite a lot of things out of the list, but I could only fit 10 things, and those are the top 10 that came to my mind. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that it's not been too negative, but I kind of wanted it to be an honest review. Don't forget that this is a part of basically 2 videos which are focused on the pros and the cons of Raid Shadow Legends. So in order not to only see the bad side of the game, make sure you watch the other video as well to kind of get a glimpse of also the good things about the game. If you're a new player and thinking about starting the game, don't let these things that I mentioned discourage you. Try it out for yourself and maybe see what you enjoy or don't enjoy about it. You can always, stop playing if you don't like it. So, there's no commitment. Okay, guys. Hopefully you are all keeping well, and hopefully you're all safe during these times. Wish you all a great day, and have a good one until the next video.